Welcome back to the Wonder Bros pod, where we are recapturing wonder through the power of storytelling.
That's right. We are here doing these series. This current series we're calling the Countdown to Doomsday, which is really an MCU Rewatch leading up to December 18th when Avengers Doomsday goes and launches. This week we're talking about, it's episode 12 for us, and we're talking about Ant-Man.
Yeah.
And Ant-Man, for me, is really a story about what does it mean to be expendable?
Okay. Yeah.
And then the one overarching question that I think is going to come up at some point here is, was this just a palate cleanser in a much larger story?
Yeah.
Did we just need a break from a very heavy story where an entire a city was turned into an asteroid and almost destroyed the Earth? And then the next episode where the Avengers all hate each other and they get into a fight with each other. Did we need a breather? And maybe we got it, but was it more than that?
Right. And it's interesting, too, because this one came out July 17th. So the last movie came out May 1st.
Wow,
so
yeah.
This is just a couple of months separation.
Gosh, I don't remember that, but that's really intense. It's a really close.
I feel like we've said that a lot because a lot of these movies came out within a few months of each other. And when you think about it, especially Phase 2, because they were really trucking along at this point.
That's right.
And this is the last film of Phase 2. Phase 2 kind of we blow right through it. And
Right.
It's so fast.
That's right.
And
I actually sent you this reel today. I don't know as of this taping. Yeah, it says something like the year is 2030. The year is 2089. And kids these days have to watch 869 videos and 479 TV shows to understand what happens in Captain Spider-Man 3, The Multiverse of Morbius. And it's like, yeah, that's about right.
So good.
Which is how, to be fair, that's how it felt in phases 2 and 3. Things were just getting pushed out and it got overwhelming. And again, nobody knew, there was no on-ramp. And so, yeah, again, finishing up phase 2 here, I want you to dive into the sort of film base at the front end of this. But for me, this really felt like we were in full tilt, downhill, racing to some end that at this point, aside from that one little scene where we saw the scene we both hated, where Thor has a vision of the Infinity Stones.
Last episode.
Yeah, we're not really sure where this is all going, but we are going there at full speed.
Yeah.
We don't know where we're going, but we're going there fast.
Well, and people who are, major comic nerds, I consider myself a comic nerd, but like I'm not on any level to like some of the people that have. I watched a lot of the cartoons. I read some of the comics, but I'm not one of those people that just owned all the comics. I have spent a great deal of time studying the storylines of the comics to better understand the movies and TV shows and things that come out like that. Mm-hmm. And that's pretty much how I get most of my knowledge, really. So I arguably am a bit of an armchair comic book nerd.
I think all comic book nerds are armchair comic book nerds.
I feel like there's certain levels of people that like have read them all, maybe multiple times.
In a chair with an arm?
Okay, well, sure. You know the term.
I'm really just trying to fuck. It's one of those moments where I'm trying to get a rise out of you just in time to put it on the video. It's stupid.
This isn't a cheap tricks show.
You're right. Rage baiting doesn't always work.
No, it doesn't. Especially with me, because I'm pretty even-tempered most of the time.
That's right. Also, forgive me, autistic.
Yeah,
it's
I am
hard
autistic.
It's hard to rage bait you.
It is.
You have to really choose. You have to commit to the bit.
Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I don't. I'm very committed to my bit.
That's right. Yeah, no, I'm in the middle of rage baiting you, and you're still thinking about the fact that I just interrupted you, and you still have something to say.
Right.
It's like I can't actually get you raging because you're still waiting for me to stop talking.
I'm not even listening to you. I'm just thinking about what I'm about to say.
This is perfect.
You're like over there, like, right? And I'll be like, huh?
So what did you say? I was just waiting for you to stop talking.
I'm just happy that you're done. Yeah, no. All right, anyway, so what I was about to say, so we have director Peyton Reed, budget was $130 million on this film, but and I think that this will show in the way that we kind of talk about this, which I'm actually not going to be as hard on this movie as I originally thought I was going to be.
Yeah,
After typing out the notes and like kind of coming up with what I was going to say, I actually realized there was some aspects of this movie that I really enjoyed. I have a different perspective on it because I didn't watch it until way later, like years later after it came out. Because this came out in 2015. I didn't watch it until probably 2017, 2018.
Wow. Okay.
So multiple other movies had come out by this point, and I went backwards because it wasn't until we'll get into when Civil War came out. I think it was around that time because I was like, oh, Ant-Man.
Right.
And so then I was like, maybe I should go back and watch. Actually, I think it was when Ant-Man and the Wasp came out, and I was like, I should probably see the first one before I watch that one. And that's when I watched it. So yeah, it just didn't appeal to me personally at the time, and I feel like that's maybe the case with a lot of people because it only got $57.2 million in their opening weekend, lowest Phase 2 opening.
Yeah, sure.
So
sure.
Yeah, it definitely kind of shows. We got writers Edgar Wright and Joe Cornish for the story and screenplay, and Adam McKay and Paul Rudd for additional screenplay. And we'll get into that mess here in just a minute. What do you? So you already said Ant-Man felt a bit like a palate cleanser.
Yeah, but it's also again with that line that comes up, and it'll come up later in our episode. But you really get to look at somebody who is just happy to be there.
Yeah,
is lucky to be there. Life could have gone very differently for him. There's a little bit of this Robin Hood story, right? The whole reason he's a criminal is because he was robbing from the rich who were hurting the poor, and then he sort of returned all the money to the people that were hurt. Which, by the way, one of my favorite legends, Robin Hood. It's one of the reasons why, as sort of, forgive me, but shitty as the CW Arrow show is, it's one of the reasons I love the Green Arrow. Is because it's Batman meets Robin Hood. And I loved Robin. The Disney version of the Fox Robin Hood, I can quote that thing beginning to end, including sing all the songs in harmony. I have watched that thing. If you ask me what movie have you watched the most in your life, it's that one.
Really?
I love it. And so the whole idea that a guy who was a noble, or in this case, Masters of Mechanical Engineering, who then finds out a problem and decides to take from the powerful to give to the less fortunate, and then in that story finds himself to be on the wrong side of the law because the law is wrong. That story to me is incredible. And so as much as I've kind of felt like, again, from a storytelling in the Infinity Saga, this is really more of just a stop along the road for me. It wasn't super interesting. At the same time, the background of the story, how it plays, is actually feeding into some places that some metaphors and some stories for me that are actually really meaningful, especially whenever he tells Hope, you realize I'm expendable, right? That was such a good thing. That expendable nature of Ant-Man, the fact that Paul Rudd's character, that Scott Lang knows he's not the main character.
Right.
In any of these stories, he knows he's not the main character. Just, hey guys, thanks for calling me, right? That comes up in Civil War. That part of this story, that self-awareness of the Ant-Man actually makes him pretty endearing.
Yeah, for sure. So you think Paul Rudd as a superhero, do you think that was something that felt right immediately, or do you think it took some adjusting?
Well, it took some adjusting. Same way that Chris Pratt, because I'm used to a chubby Chris Pratt running through Parks and Rec episodes. Yeah. To see him ripped up in Guardians of the Galaxy and actually doing a pretty good job, in my opinion, of being a slapstick comedian, but also good superhero.
Yeah, it made sense for his character. And honestly, as much as I kind of shat on Guardians of the Galaxy.
Your defecations just went British.
Yeah. I shat on Guardians of the Galaxy a bit in the sense that when I go back and rewatch these movies every couple years or whatever, I tend to skip the Guardians movies, and I never really understand why. I to this day don't really understand why. I think it's just the nature of them. It's a different world. It doesn't really, in their own way, they don't connect to the rest of the MCU, so I don't ever feel the need to watch them. And I felt that way about Ant-Man until Ant-Man and the Wasp. And of course, in Ant-Man, as we'll talk about, the quantum realm directly connects to the MCU in its most pivotal way.
That's right. Weirdly, the expendable, useless, I'm just lucky to be here actually becomes a linchpin upon which the rest of the series rests.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think I was with a lot of people on this too, that I kind of called that he was going to be, like it was going to be, I thought that was going to be how they like defeated Thanos, or something was going to happen with the quantum realm.
You can't leave trillions dead. You have to find a way to undo it.
Well, and before we move on too much from the conversation about Guardians of the Galaxy and how we were talking about Chris Pratt, I feel like Chris Pratt really, I actually believed Chris Pratt. That's what I was going to say before. Yeah. So like I shat on the movie a little bit, but like Chris Pratt as Star-Lord to me was a very believable character. It's he slides right into it. The character is written basically for him. And so I feel like all of his humor, his personality made sense. For me, as much as I love Paul Rudd, I feel like he was 44 years old when he came into this role. He doesn't exude lead character energy up until this point. I didn't really feel. And I remember thinking, I think that was part of what rubbed me wrong about it. I was like, I don't know if I'm interested in this. Like, this seems like a weird decision to make, both at the time in the timeline of the movies, but also just in general. Like, why do I want to watch this? And I never really cared about Ant-Man.
Yeah. I mean, it's absolutely, for me, Ant-Man 1 is really more about Pym. Ant-Man 2 is really more about Hank and Janet and Hope. And then Ant-Man 3 is more about Kang and Cassie. Yeah. It's like there's never a moment where Paul Rudd seems to just take charge and be the leader, which, frankly, is the fucking point.
Right.
Ant-Man is not, even though the Ant-Man character was part of the original Avengers, again, that was a more serious character. When you the first time we talked about Ant-Man in this podcast, you went, he kind of gets big and he kind of gets small. And it's like, that's right.
Yeah.
That's, he's a cat burglar. He's got some skills around some other spots, but, and again, he's an engineer, so that's fine. But you don't really play that out. What you really play is he gets big or he gets small, or he gets really big or he gets really small.
Yeah.
It's the story.
All right. So I'm going to do a little bit something different with the origin story. I'm going to kind of blow past the comic book section of it because I just don't really care.
Okay.
Yeah, being honest. Because we have Hank Pym, we have Scott Lang. They're both Ant-Man. There's two Ant-Men in the comics. We get that. I can kind of, the original Ant-Man was created by Stan Lee, Larry Lieber, and Jack Kirby. So like one of the originals.
And that actually is something that comes up in the comics a lot that for the retail listener, they may not know, but there have been, within the superhero genre, there are multiple people who will carry the moniker. Like, there have been multiple Captain Americas. There have been multiple Ant-Men. Even with Thor, I know as much as you love Thor, Love and Thunder, even the God of Thunder sometimes is called Jane Foster.
Right.
The mighty Thor. So this idea that there are two people who are both Ant-Man at the same time, by the way, that's one of the first times this happens in the MCU where you have two people carrying the same name.
Right.
There's actually some interesting interplay in here that I actually really like that they explored, but before we get further, like in the Captain America handoff and that kind of stuff, where I don't feel like it worked.
Right.
But I feel like here it worked because you have the serious Ant-Man who, I'm keeping my technology safe, and then you got the kind of like happy-go-lucky, I'm so happy to be here, Ant-Man.
Yeah.
Which again plays into that idea that he is expendable.
Right.
He's just a placeholder in the suit. Whereas Tony in the suit, Tony is Iron Man, and the suit is a prosthetic. Ant-Man is the suit.
Now, on that note, too, I said I wasn't going to talk about the comic book, but I actually do think that this is kind of an interesting point, which is that Stan Lee, Larry Lieber, and Jack Kirby wrote and released Tales to Astonish number 35 in September of 1962, which predates Iron Man by a year.
Oh, wow.
So he's even older than Iron Man, or at least maybe not the conception necessarily, but the definitely the release. So he's one of the founding members of the Avengers in the comics, but Hank Pym is. Yeah. And then we don't get Scott Lang until 1979. So like Hank Pym is the Ant-Man. And I do love that. Well, I'm not going to get into that yet. We'll get into it. But One thing I do want to talk about because it's just so interesting to me is the Edgar Wright saga of this whole thing. So this is an interesting story, and since we're here to talk about stories,
say more. Yeah,
the behind the scenes of this was probably the most dramatic of the MCU because this was early days. We're still talking about the MCU figuring out who they are, what they want to be. Kevin Feige has not yet taken the reins fully. We're talking about early days. Wright and co-writer Joe Cornish first met Marvel before Iron Man came out to talk about Ant-Man.
Huh.
So they were writing on this. So when Marvel was literally working out of offices above a BMW showroom in Beverly Hills, that's when they met about Ant-Man. They worked on the script on and off for approximately 8 years.
Wow. Gosh.
And then Wright's concept, a standalone left field heist movie, more in the vein of his own films, which was, if we know, to make a few mentions here, Shaun of the Dead, Hot Fuzz, Scott Pilgrim is all him.
I love those movies.
Yeah, and they're great. So more of a standard, instead of a standard MCU film, he wanted a standalone kind of left field heist movie.
Yeah.
We kind of got that.
Yeah, we did get that. We got the humor that you get with Hot Fuzz and Shaun of the Dead, which is take a serious concept and make it funny.
Yeah.
And then you even get the Mission Impossible moment where he slides down to get the catch the wasp or the yellow jacket armor, and it sort of falls away, but he stops on that little thing. Yeah, so that all makes sense to me.
Right. And the problem here is by the time the film was actually ready to shoot in 2014, Marvel had built an empire. And so the house style was already established. The interconnected universe was non-negotiable. And so Marvel commissioned a rewrite of the script without Wright's involvement.
Oh, wow.
And when that draft came back, homogenized, stripped of Wright's voice, he walked. Wright is quoted, here's a quote here from him saying, "I wanted to make a Marvel movie, but I don't think they really wanted to make an Edgar Wright movie." And then Cornish said of Edgar is an auteur. Edgar Wright makes Edgar Wright movies. In the end, that's why it didn't happen. And Wright has said he has never seen the final film and does not regret leaving. The departure.
I love that. I love that whenever somebody gets slighted and they make some kind of comment where, what was the Edward Norton comment in Hulk where he's like,
it's like a backhanded compliment.
Yeah, he's like, did a great job of executing a business plan.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
An artist telling you did a great job in business plan means your movie sucks.
Yep.
Which it did.
Wright has said, like I said, he'd never seen the film, never regretted leaving. The departure was announced on May 23rd of 2014. Peyton Reed was announced as his replacement weeks later. Filming started in August, so it was very quick. The movie still hit its July 17th, 2015 release date, and Wright and Cornish still have screenplay credits on the finished film alongside McKay and Rudd. Their structure and dialogue survived the transition. So Simon Pegg, who is Wright's longtime collaborator and is in movies like Hot Fuzz and what's the other one that I just mentioned?
Shaun of the
Dead. And he publicly called the Wright-Cornish draft the best script Marvel ever had.
Wow.
So it's pretty crazy. But then Peyton Reed steps in, best known for Bring It On and Down with Love. So not an obvious superhero choice.
Right.
He'd actually pitched to direct Fantastic Four years earlier, but before that project went elsewhere. And by most accounts, the shoot was smooth, and Reed got along really well with Marvel, so much so that they hired him back for 2 more sequels. So he did the others as well. The Falcon fight scene where Scott has to break into the Avengers compound and tangle with Sam Wilson was actually Adam McKay's idea, added during the Rudd McKay rewrite. So one of the interesting things, and of course now it's one of the most beloved, scenes in the film. For whatever for very little I think this movie actually offers in the grand picture of things. I do really like that. It comes up later. We'll talk about that in the Spark and Fizzle. But Rudd was cast in December 2013, so he was actually connected to it a little bit earlier than that. Before the director replacement was even announced, he was not the obvious superhero. He was, like I said earlier, he was 44, known primarily for comedies like Clueless, I Love You Man, Knocked Up. I remember him even looking exactly like he did at 44 in Friends 20 years before that. But he co-wrote his own script pages during the McKay rewrite, which is very interesting. And I think it's also worth noting that Adam McKay coming in to write this is also interesting in its own right, because he did Don't Look Up, which way later, which I love that movie, and it's I love it and how much that I hate it in the way that it reflects reality. And we were just talking about this earlier with the other movies that he's responsible for all of basically everything that Will Ferrell came out with in his series of movies for like 5 or 6 years.
That's right. Talladega Nights, Anchorman, yeah, which of course had Paul Rudd in it, right?
Right. So Adam McKay holds a special place in our hearts, whether we realize it or not. But anyway, the quantum realm is introduced in this movie, which is interesting. Introduced in the film as a subatomic dimension. Scott accidentally enters when he overshrinks, which is a funny phrase to say out loud. In comics, the equivalent concept was called the microverse.
Oh, yeah.
Much easier to understand in a comic book, probably, than talking about the quantum realm.
Yeah, but I mean...
Doesn't sound as cool, though.
And calling it the quantum realm, connecting it to quantum realities, does get you to the point where you can talk about how time is irrelevant.
Right.
At quantum level, time is irrelevant. And that's a... I mean, obviously we can't measure it with a ruler, but we can measure it through other forms and mathematics and other science that's happening in astrophysics.
Right.
To the point where some of this is certainly fantasy, but some of this is based on real science.
Yeah.
The whole premise of Ant-Man is that found a way to reduce the distance between atoms, or even reduce the distance that atoms have in themselves. I think it's really fascinating to think that at an atomic level, you're more not here than you are here. That there's more empty space than there is particle.
Right.
At an atomic level, and which means that there's that whole bit from Pete Holmes where he talks about molecules make no fucking sense.
Doesn't make no fucking sense.
That's right. And these molecules know that I'm Pete. It's like but it's real, and so there actually is some basis even in the '60s as this character's being written. With the technology that we had at the time, this is only 20 years post Nagasaki, Hiroshima, the splitting of the atom, where we're learning more about atomic energy in a way that, and the nature of atoms. Yeah. That when we think about the zeitgeist of the 60s, this actually is a really interesting time for us to think through new technology, new uses of nuclear technology. And the reality is that there's actually a sense that this actually holds up scientifically, that if you were to create something 200 pounds but smaller, it gets more dense and hard. And so that scene where she says, like, you're going to have a 200-pound man, a 1/100th of an inch. Yeah. And so hit too hard and it's like a bullet and you kill somebody. Hit too soft and it's a love tap. That sense that he has to overcome a new kind of science, right? Actually, kind of worked for me. I thought it was real. I didn't hate that part.
It kind of sounds like we are very naturally going into the pull list.
That's right.
So would you say that was your first pull?
Not the first one I have listed, but it is the first one we're going to talk about.
Okay.
The science behind this is, in fact, something that I find interesting. I was a nuclear power electrician in the Navy. Got to play around the world of nuclear physics, not as a physicist, but as an electrician who worked on a nuclear power plant. Right. And then the philosophy of what is matter. Why is this this bulkhead, this wall right here? Why is it more not here than here? And then why can't I put my hand through it? Right. And then we have conversations like in The Flash, where if we could resonate at a certain vibration, we actually could move through it, called phasing through. That things like teleportation, moving one atom to another using quantum reality. This kind of stuff has been science fiction for a long time, but we're learning with every generation. We're getting a little bit closer to this being science fact. Right. And again, it's fucking stupid ass movies like this that move us closer to that reality.
Sci-fi in general has just been such a huge proponent in moving us forward. All right, well, my first pull, I'm going to say directly is the opening, the de-aged Michael Douglas. I actually liked it. I think it ages pretty well, honestly, and I think they did a pretty good job. 1989 SHIELD confrontation is one of the most technically impressive de-aging effects Marvel had done to that point.
Yeah,
and so I thought it was really cool having a young Hank Pym walking around into a room with Howard Stark and Peggy Carter instantly roots the character in the larger MCU.
Sure.
Kind of that without feeling forced, which was great. I felt like it was just like, oh, this all makes sense. And of course, and sets up his bitterness, his protectiveness, his technology of the technology and the generational stakes, and also indirectly sets up Endgame.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Because they go back to a specific time knowing that the Pym particles would be in that base.
That's right.
So it's interesting to see that kind of like come full circle. And
it's good.
Rewatching it now is fun to see that going, oh, that's where the Pym particles were.
I also love the concept of like creating a core memory. And so we see Pym come in there, and of course there's a bit of an altercation, and he ends up slamming that guy, punching that guy's face. And and then fast forward like 40 years, they haven't seen each other in decades, and he's like, "How you doing, Mr. Pym?" He's like, "How's your face?" like you remember the last time we saw each other? I punched you the fuck out.
Yeah,
and it's
so
like, it was
long
so
ago.
good. Yeah, that's right. It's like for both of them, it's just branded.
Right.
You know, it's like it transcends time and space. That's good.
It's
yeah,
crazy,
that's a good move. Yep. Yeah.
What's your next pool?
I liked, and it kind of came early in this movie, but we see it in every one of the Ant-Man movies. I like Luis's storytelling when you put a quarter in him.
Yep.
I think
that was my next one.
I think it's so funny.
Yeah.
You know, and
the fast talking recap monologues.
Yes, that's right. Great. Yeah, fast talking. I love the way you said that. Fast talking recap monologues. And what I also love is how in this one, Scott's like, Luis, it's the wrong details. You know, like he's like, it's a Rothko and it was sublime. You know, like it's like, dude, wrong details. Can you get me to the story itself? And so that it's a really funny. Michael Pena is for me is a hilarious actor.
Amazing.
Yeah. He's played some serious roles. He's done a lot of like supporting actor roles where he's a military member or something like that.
Yep.
Really like that. He's a good actor. His comedic chops are solid. I really liked him in Dora the Explorer, the live action. So I have children, so I get
I can't say I've seen that one.
It's not weird when you have kids watching it.
Yeah.
Though it's actually a pretty decent Disney movie, and I recommend it. Yeah. But yeah, he plays Dora's dad, and there's this funny moment where I'm sure you haven't watched the animated show Dora the Explorer, but there's a thing where she breaks the fourth wall in the animated show, and she looks at the screen and she goes, "Can you say whatever, you know, this one is red. Can you say roja? You know, and
I have seen, I know that bit, yeah.
Well, in the live action, they redo that where she's and it never explains who she's talking to,
right?
But she'll be like, "This food," and this is an actual scene. She's like, "This food is delicioso. Can you say delicioso?" And Michael Pena, as her dad, is so confused. He goes, "Delicioso," and it's hilarious. It's such a good move, and knowing that those movies were actually. Yeah. That actually, I believe, and I have to check the math on this. I think that movie Dora the Explorer came out between Ant-Man 1 and 2. So like I had seen Michael Pena, and then I saw him here watching this with my kids, and then I was like, oh my gosh, that's so funny.
That is funny.
So I love that. I think it's a really well done comedic bit that gets you again thinking through this. Just these guys are jackwads. They're not good at what they do.
Yeah.
But they end up being really good at what they do. So I like it.
Back to Luis, though. I do love one of my favorite things about his storytelling is actually how other people are lip syncing his voice telling the story.
Yeah.
Made it. I think it was such a great way to do it. One of the most purely inventive
that's right.
comedy bits in the MCU.
And you get to see Stan Lee go, crazy, stupid, fine.
That's true.
That's good.
And the whole bit was actually right in Cornish's original draft.
Oh, wow. That's cool. So that's cool. Yep. That's good. My real pull here, the pull list for us is supposed to be particular scenes that hit that you really can't miss. But I think that for me, very broadly, the comic relief of the three kind of sidekicks here is really good. I love it where he's like, did we get him in the system? And she's like, he's in the system. He's like, I'm in the system. He's like, you in the system, you know? And then the first time Ant-Man shrinks in front of him and David Dalmatian says, this is the work of gypsies. It's so good. It's like, that's so funny. So anyway, I loved that bit. I thought again, because this was more of a comedic relief bridge between two really dark stories, the comedy landed. I liked it.
It did, and we'll see this a few other times in the MCU and the timeline where we have these Ant-Man and the Wasp becomes another brief comedy palate cleanser between Infinity War and Endgame.
A little bit darker, but yeah,
definitely darker in the end.
That's right. That's right.
That's one of my favorite after credit scenes because the whole time you're watching the movie going, what? We just saw everybody like turn into ash. How is this happening? And then you realize it was happening simultaneously.
That's
I
right.
mean, it's such a good. We'll get there. I'll gush about it then too. My next pull and last pull, since you covered the second one for me, is the Falcon fight.
Oh yeah,
Scott has to break into the new Avengers facility to steal a piece of tech. He runs into Sam Wilson, and they have a legitimately good fight that uses the Ant-Man powers creatively. The scene is funny. It's action-packed. It's does the connective tissue work without feeling like an obligation, which I did really like. Ends with Falcon's underrated line, "Don't tell the captain about this."
It's really important to me the captain never hears about this. That was really good.
This scene is the reason Scott ends up in Civil War, so it's a great way to lead into that.
That's right.
And so it's a great scene.
Yeah, I did like the scene. There's something that happens every time Ant-Man shrinks, and then it zooms in on him small.
Yeah.
And he's running at full speed, and then they do it in every movie. They zoom out, and you realize how long it's taking him to cross. And it's and you see it there too. He's like, it's okay. I don't think you can see me. I can see you. It's really good. I got one more pull.
Okay.
And it's the stinger. So obviously, at the end of the movie, the stinger is the end credits scene, something meant to lead us forward in the story, and of course, we find Bucky.
Yep.
And having just watched Civil War, it's actually a mid-credit. It's a mid-movie scene pulled and turned into an end credit scene because that happens in the middle of the movie,
which I don't think we've seen since Captain America.
Right.
Which they did. They showed us the Avengers. Yeah.
That's right. Yeah. So, but you see Bucky, and then with something we talked about a couple episodes back, where notice whenever he's using the robot arm versus his physical arm, and in that scene, it's his prosthetic that's pinned, and he says, "Who are you?" And he's like, "I'm Bucky, and your mom's name is Sarah."
Yeah.
And he's realizing that you're like, this is actually my real friend Bucky. We've actually put the prosthetic on hold.
Yeah.
Winter Soldier is stuck, but Bucky's here, and I think it's a beautiful scene. I think it went really well, and it certainly drives us to the next movie.
Yeah. All right, Spark and Fizzle. My sparks are pretty easy, pretty straightforward. I think Paul Rudd's casting fully vindicated. He brings warmth. He brings humor. He brings a genuine underdog energy that distinguishes Scott Lang from every other Avenger.
Yeah. So in these movies and in the conversation with my children's mother, we always talk about what's age appropriate for my kids.
Yeah.
And for the most part, I feel like now they're old enough to watch these movies.
Yeah.
But when they came out, they certainly weren't. And but then it was like, which one of these will we show and at what time? And Ant-Man was one of the earliest ones because it's mostly comic relief.
Sure.
And so to this day, my kids will just throw out the words, "I said hat," which is that scene where he's like, "Your fiance's an ass hat."
Yeah.
And he goes, "Don't call him that." And he goes, "What? I said hat."
Yeah.
And my kids will say, "I said hat" over and over again to not say the words ass hat out loud. Which at this point, they're old enough to just say fucking ass hat.
Yeah,
and,
sure.
And use the F word in there too. It's fine in where we are. But that, so rewatching this, and he's like, "What? I said hat." And you just sort of see him like, hat wasn't the bad word there, Scott. I thought it was funny. It hit well.
A lot of these we've already kind of talked about. I loved, obviously, Michael Pena. We talked about the high structure. I love Michael Douglas bringing the gravitas, the sense of legacy, which was great. And then, but the one that I will mention, I think the scale gimmick kind of works in this. It kind of makes it sets it apart. The shrinking, enlarging we were talking about earlier. The visual comedy is used, I think, inventively throughout, not just in the finale. And that was kind of fun seeing him go into the Avengers, compound, seeing him going here in all these different ways that they use it. I think was actually pretty creative overall. Yeah,
Scott Lang's not a superhero. Right. The suit is the superhero. And I think they play that well, even in the sort of like get acclimated to the suit montage where he's trying to go through the keyhole. to run at speed and actually finish getting across this hall in an effective amount of time, you need to be full height.
Right.
Then you need to be small to get through, and then you need to be to have a real combat scene. You need to be back to full height.
Yeah.
And that's the kind of the joke that we were telling. Like whenever he's small, he doesn't run at the same pace as a human or as a full-size human, and so he has to move in and out of these, which is the story. The story is how do you move in and out, even to the point where he's locked in that hermetically sealed, where he was trying to get the Yellow Jacket armor, and his only way out is to blast the door by making them bigger. He throws the enlarged discs at the glass, which blows it out of the frame. The first couple of times I watched it, I didn't really think through what that meant.
Yeah.
And it was this last time I watched it, I was like, oh yeah, that's right, because glass is a liquid that would rapidly expand and it would blow out, allowing it to actually kind of explode. Mm-hmm. So I think you're right. I think they did a really good job with that. My next spark is actually very personal. And Hank Pym is talking to Hope, and he says, I lost your mother. I didn't mean to lose you too. It's brilliant dialogue. Because what he didn't say was, I didn't want to lose you, or I didn't think I would lose you, or I didn't lose you too. He says, I didn't mean to lose you. He's acknowledging the loss. My own father, twice in my life, once when I was 19 and once when I was 37, we had really intense conversations around the fact that we had no relationship. And I've told that story before. Go back and watch the Thor episode and let's tell that story there. But my father and I remember being 37, sitting in my basement when it was a finished basement. It wasn't like it was like in the dirt. We're sitting downstairs in like the basement family room, and he had visited for the first time ever. And it was only the second time I'd seen him in 20 years. And he is in tears, a 56-year-old man at the time. And he's in tears, and he is repenting for staying away. They sent me away. That was their fault. I stayed away. That was my fault. What a healing moment for me. That my dad didn't know he was giving me more than anything. I think he was just trying to offload his own guilt, but he said it in a way that I was able to we were able to have some forgiveness between the two of us and some real acknowledging that we're not going to get that time back. And so the task is not to try to reclaim the time. The task is to take what happened and acknowledge it, and then make a decision about how we want to move forward. And you see that here, he's not going to get Hope's trust back. Not really. But what he is going to get is the opportunity to pass the torch to her and to Scott, and to live well, and to love his kids well, and to continue growing. I feel like that, grieving the loss, knowing that we only have one life to live and that they lost all that time.
Yeah.
Even when she goes, oh, you were trying to get mom back. Yeah, but the downstream effects of me focusing only on that was that I lost 30 years with you, Hope.
Right.
And I'm not getting it back. Ironically, they're talking about time travel. They might be able to, but we can't.
Right.
And that raw acknowledgement was one of the few very serious moments in the movie. I don't even think, and one of my fizzles will come up is how much I hated Darren Cross. The villain here, the storyline itself kind of fucking sucks.
Yeah.
But that moment was a really rich and very beautiful and serious moment for me in Ant-Man.
Yeah, the stakes at the end, I mean, it's definitely smaller stakes, right? The film saves one building in San Francisco.
Funny little pun you just said. Like the smaller stakes. It's Ant-Man.
Right.
It's tiny.
Yeah, and smaller stakes in every way, I guess. The film saves one building in San Francisco rather than a city.
Unlike Hulk's penis.
You found a way to get it in there?
That's what she said. Sorry.
All right, fair enough.
Oh, that's so stupid.
So after Age of Ultron, I felt like that felt more like a feature than a bug. So, I think it's definitely, I liked the smaller stakes.
Yeah, that's right.
On to the fizzles.
I got one more little spark.
Okay.
Well, two. I did like the water main scene where he's like floating on. It felt like Ratatouille.
Oh,
he's
sure.
He's going through the pipes. I like that. Yeah. And then the other one is Louise talking about, hey, I was thinking about having some kind of in order to feel like I belong there, and I was thinking like I was going to whistle. What do you think about whistling? And they're like, no, Louise, no whistling. And harkened back to one of the original, the second Ocean's movie.
Yeah.
Where Matt Damon is convinced he needs that prosthetic nose to get through. Yeah. And they're like, the nose isn't going to help. And at the end of it, he's like, the nose helped, right?
Yeah.
And you even see Luis whistling as he's going through. And it's just, for me, I was like, yeah, that's funny.
Yeah, that's funny.
So, all right, I can fizzle now.
Okay. Since we were just kind of talking about Hope and Hank wanting, the passing the torch, right? I think Hope's sidelining in this, it feels odd to me because she's clearly more capable than Scott in every scene they share. And the film acknowledges this and then spends most of its runtime explaining why she can't be the hero.
Yeah.
The in-universe reason, of course, Pym is protecting her, makes sense emotionally, but it's structurally somewhat frustrating, I thought.
I got you. I can respect that, but I do disagree. I think that's the whole point of the movie.
Of course, yeah. No, for sure.
The point
I'm not saying it should have been the other way around. It
Right.
makes sense later on in Ant-Man and the Wasp. We get the payoff.
Yeah, that's right. And I think I would agree with you more if we didn't get the payoff. If we didn't get the end of that where he's like, I should have given you this suit for a long time ago. And then if they hadn't gotten into the second movie where she actually does get kind of a headline role, then I would agree with you. But yeah, then I do agree with you there that we do lose a main character who actually is more interesting in my opinion, and I think in yours too, than the title character.
Yeah, and I think my main issue with it was more of the fact that I felt like it felt a little contrived, maybe just the fight between her and Hank.
Yeah,
because of all of that,
That's
felt
right.
very adolescent.
Yes. Okay, I agree with that.
Yeah.
Because I feel like you have a couple of confusing story arcs that are interacting. One is, I need your help, Dad. Yep. Which, as a father of a teenager, I have had that happen. Yeah. Where we are estranged, and then my teenager calls me and says, I need your... This is not... She's literally sent this text to me. This is not me repairing this. I'm not ready for that yet, but I need your help with this thing. And so I've experienced that, and that is its own kind of story. Sure. But then also this but you're the founder, and I am the board chair, and I'm the one who voted you out, and I voted you out because of Darren Cross. And but am I aligned with Darren, or am I aligned with you? And who the hell is this Scott guy, and why am I not fighting? It did get a little convoluted because there were so many different... You weren't sure which of those mini story arcs was the point. Yeah. I agree with you there. That one, for me, it's one of my fizzles as well, was that there were too many mini interactions between Hope and Hank that I was confused about their relationship.
Yeah, it caused a lot of friction because they almost contradict each other in the sense that, it doesn't. It feels forced. Yeah.
Yeah, sure. That's right.
All right, what you got?
Yeah. The Thomas the Train fight. I hated that. I hated it. Yeah, because it's and I get it was a trick. They were tricking the audience, right? It was a turn into Prestige, which is like you're fighting and you're miniature, but you've fought as miniature long enough that the audience has forgot you're miniature. Right. And then you're like laying down in front of a train, you're like, holy shit, it's a train, and then just sort of falls over. Yeah. And I was like, okay, I get it. Yeah. And that was exactly yeah, that's right. Yeah. It was a sympathy laugh is what they got from me. It's like, oh, okay. Yeah. Which may have been the point, but it again, if you're gonna make it comedy relief, at Nope, and my biggest fizzle here is Darren in general. I just hated that character.
Yeah, same. It was my number one fizzle. I just jumped to the Hope because we're talking about it, but Darren Cross, yeah. I mean, and Corey Stoll, I don't know how to say his last name. I actually like him generally in movies and shows that he's in. I loved him in House of Cards. I loved him in lots of things. Yep. I think he plays really great characters, but to see him in this, and then of course as the abomination of what he is in Quantum Mania. MODOK. Yeah, MODOK. I mean, that's one of the darkest, like, you're not going to see the MCU acknowledging that in the future, I bet. That's right. But yeah, I mean, the whole character of Darren Cross is just silly to me. The whole thing. The stakes, as we were talking about smaller stakes, in ways it works until the third act, and then the third act feels really, really stupid a lot of the time.
That's an important point, because in Acts 1 and 2, this technology is now being replicated so that the Yellow Jackets could go anywhere. Darren Cross is going to have he's going to be the only person in the world who has the fuel for these machines. You're going to have countries being toppled, and he's going to make a bunch of money out of it. Okay, that's a money-hungry supervillain. Fine.
Yeah.
But then when he puts the suit on himself and goes crazy because he doesn't have a specialized helmet. And then that
and it feels a little bit like Iron Man 1. It's like, are we in Obadiah Stane all over again?
That's exactly right.
Right.
That's exactly right. Where you have a corporate fat cat deciding to become a mechanized superhero just at a smaller scale. I hadn't knit that together before, but as we're talking about, it's right.
Yeah. And he's selling, and in this movie, he's also like, there's a storyline of him selling it to Hydra.
Yeah. Right.
Which, much like the Nazis in real life, just won't die.
That's right. Yeah.
The Hydra just keeps coming up.
That's right. Everywhere. I'd be okay if Nazism died. I'm not huge on human death, but like sometimes that has to happen.
I mean the idealism, obviously. Thank you for making me clarify that.
Fuck them. All of them.
Yeah. I mean, it literally won't die. Nazism's everywhere.
That's right.
And so is Hydra, apparently.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, which, by the way, is the point of Hydra. Cut off 1 and 3 come in. Right. Jump the shark moment for me. Jump the fucking shark.
Yeah.
Darren Cross is in a helicopter.
Yeah.
At night with a handgun. And he shoots Anthony.
Yeah.
What? One, no handgun is accurate enough to shoot an ant.
No. 2,
there's no way that ant was big enough for him to hit it with a bullet.
No.
And there's no way Darren Cross is a good enough marksman to do that.
No.
It's just, it took me completely out of the movie. And I get that it's like, Anthony is dead now. And it's like, and he's an ant. And there's a bunch of others.
Yeah.
And there's not a real personality here. Ants don't have personality like that.
No.
And so
we were only supposed to care because he says Anthony so many times.
That's right. And so that whole, I mean, we could probably just say Anthony was a fizzle for me.
Yeah.
But I totally jumped that shark on Darren shooting that ant out from underneath him.
Yeah. It was
stupid.
Silly. It was. My last fizzle is Scott and Hope's romance as it develops in this first movie.
Yeah. Okay.
I felt like it was very rushed, undercooked. It's there because the film needs it narratively, but not because it's really earned. And we see that so often in superhero stories where it's like, you know, they always force these. What was it? Well, we talked about that in Thor. And it's not. We see these relationships get developed that don't feel earned. It's just that they were developed in high stakes situations or like high stress situations, which. Don't get me wrong, in real life, I get that high stress situations will bond you faster, like 10 times faster than you would ever experience it otherwise. Watch one season of the show Survivor. Like those people become lifelong friends because they were on this place for 21 days, right? So I get it. You put people in a room together in a high stress situation, they feel very bonded very quickly.
Yeah.
And maybe it's similar in this, and that's what we're supposed to be buying, but it always feels a little like forced and unnatural.
Sure, yeah. Sandra Bullock's character in Speed calls that out. At the very end of the movie, she jumps out and he's like kissing her and she's like, you know, these high stress environments make us feel like we're more connected. She literally says that.
Yeah.
And so sure, that could possibly happen. But you're right. It felt, she went from, I hate this motherfucker to I'm kissing him. And the one fizzle I didn't mention that I can mention now because it's attached is twice they used the phrase, I ruined the moment, didn't I? And again, it's just like, don't ruin the moment by meta-narrating ruining the moment. It would have been fine had you... So this is my problem with like shows like Bones where they meta-narrate the problem. Yeah. It's like you could have ended the scene with him walking in while they're kissing and going, somebody shoot me now. Yeah. Which is the phrase he said. But he also says, I ruined the moment, didn't I? And it was like, I don't need that. And it was like, it was clunky dialogue that did not land for me.
I hate meta-narrating. I hate it in every single thing that it's ever in because it makes the audience feel like the movie or show or whatever it is calling us stupid. Yes. And granted, sometimes the audience is stupid, I guess, or on their phones. And you see that a lot in Netflix shows these days where it's like they're making shows for people on their phones. Yeah. The last season of Stranger Things, 100% is guilty of this. I don't know if you ever watched Stranger Things.
I didn't watch the last season.
The last season made me very, very angry. From beginning to end, I was like, every episode I was like, why am I still watching this? It's just so bad. And so...
It's like the last 2 seasons of The Walking Dead. As much as I loved that show in the beginning, like all of it was like, how many more times we're going to have to deal with this story arc?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
All right, we ready for the gutter?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, what you got?
One of them, this one's a tiny gutter moment, is that we got the legit grossest death in all of the MCU. When Darren shoots that guy with a shrink gun and he ends up a little booger on the ground. And he then takes a napkin and just smears him up and it's disgusting.
Yeah.
And it's so easy for us to be taken out of the story there because it's such a weird high-tech weapon. But we have never seen such a grotesque immediate murder.
Yeah.
Human to human.
Yeah.
It's human to human. This isn't a superhero. He's not even a super villain yet.
Yeah.
And it's just gross. And you're just like, oh,
Yeah.
gross. Anyway, that one, it was like, oh, that's bad. If you sit and think about it, the gutter moment there, your imagination is like, oh, grody.
Yeah.
And he got thrown in a trash can.
Right.
Whoa. Anyway.
All right, so my gutter moment is this idea that the movie does bring. It's probably my number one thing on my list as to why I think this movie. I'm glad that it exists. It's this idea of the theme of like fathers and daughters.
Yeah.
The film is fundamentally about fathers failing their children and trying to make it right.
Yep.
And Hank and Hope, we get that with he pushed her away to protect her. The protection became its own wound. The reveal that he lost Janet in the quantum realm reframes every scene between them, of course. But then when you get with Scott and Cassie, he went to prison for a crime he thought was righteous, exposing corporate fraud. But the consequence was losing access to his daughter. The entire mission is motivated by wanting to be worthy of her. And that's interesting. And even Cross and Pym have a corrupt father-son dynamic to some degree. Cross was Pym's protege, and then Pym's rejection of him is part of what broke him.
Yeah. And even Pym says, I rejected you because I saw too much of myself in you.
Yeah.
And then to lean into your conversation about daughters, I love the childlike wonder where, Paxton is like, she's like, are you going to try to catch my daddy? And he's like, yeah, honey, I'm going to have to. And she goes, well, I hope you don't catch him.
Yeah.
And you're like, yeah, I get it.
I loved young Cassie. I really did. That girl was such a great actor. She's endearing and believable. I really liked her. Nothing against older Cassie, but younger Cassie was.
Oh, I love her. We're going to talk about Ant-Man too. I love that opening scene where they're pretending to be shrunk down and they're like climbing through the whole cardboard fort in the house. Oh, it's so cute. Yeah. I love it.
But the film ends with 3 father-daughter relationships partially healed. Scott and Cassie, Hank and Hope, and then implicitly the promise of finding Janet for Hope's closure. So I think that theme alone is really interesting, to think about and dive into. And I do appreciate, and you kind of see that more with Scott and Cassie. I feel like is the more honest father-daughter relationship that you get. We're supposed to assume that Hope and Hank have this complicated past that we have to fill in the blanks with our own gutter moments.
Yeah.
I think in that way, we bring our own experience to fill in those blanks. And so for different people, it might be different. That's the beauty of the gutter.
Yeah, that's right. We're 12 episodes in now. So just as a quick summary of what the gutter is, it's that black line between panels in a comic book where the imagination happens. And so when we talk about the gutter here, one of the things we're saying is like, what part of the story didn't get explicitly told that you're just meant to assume? And so I love you talk about this idea that at its root, sometimes that is literally not told parts of the story that we're meant to infer. Other times it's this deeper meaning, that kind of the bottom frame, as you mentioned, with this father-daughter story here or parent-child story here.
Yeah. Kind of deeper themes and subtext.
That's right.
To me, that's what our segment, the gutter, is really about.
Yeah, and so one of my gutter pulls here is the very serious story where Ant-Man's an agent of S.H.I.E.L.D., right, where he's doing his work, and actually not just Ant-Man, but also the Wasp and Hope Van Dyne. We get little echoes of it throughout the story. It does communicate that there used to be somebody who was a formidable foe to the bad guys.
Yeah.
And that person was worthy of being feared. People were afraid of the Ant-Man. You're never really afraid of Scott Lang. It's a heist movie. Right. It's a heist movie with a guy that's just kind of lucky to be there.
Yeah.
But there is a story where there are, there's video footage of him blowing up tanks as a tiny little person, or even Darren Cross talking about the ability to incorporate espionage and to shrink inside of computers and to do all kinds of terrible things. At its surface level, with the God of Thunder, Iron Man, the Super Soldier, Thanos, these cosmic characters that are just so much larger than life, it's so easy to think of Ant-Man as I get small, I get big, I get small, I get big.
Yeah.
But the reality is that when he gets small, he's actually pretty damn strong.
Mm-hmm.
And when he gets big, he can cover a lot of ground, a lot of places, like when he grabs Rhodey out of the sky in Civil War.
Yeah.
And so, like, there is a very serious character here. We don't see him with Paul Rudd.
Yeah.
But it is important to have that as a backdrop so that Paul Rudd's funny.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's just ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that gutter there actually plays well. They did a good job of echoing it throughout the movie so that you feel that this could actually be a pretty serious character.
And on that note, my next gutter moment is the theme of the everyman's hero.
Yeah.
Every Avenger before Scott Lang was exceptional before they became a hero. Genius billionaire, super soldier, literal god, gamma physicist. But Scott is just a guy who made a bad decision.
That's right.
And paid for it and is trying to do right by his kids. So like that, I feel like that's the film quietly arguing that heroism is accessible in that way.
And ultimately, the whole reason the Infinity Saga works, right, with time travel. This is Bilbo Baggins, right? Like he's not a warrior, he's not even really a thief,
right?
He's just being called that by the wizard, and he literally is just an everyman from a culture of people that are notably anti-adventure and anti-violence, and yet he goes on an adventure and causes violence, and ends up saving the day,
right,
rescuing everyone. That's what you get with. I'm sure Paul Rudd would love to be related to related by story to Bilbo Baggins. Because it is, in fact, a very similar feel. I'm trying to avoid the word trope because we overuse it. But it's a very similar feel that you have this person that really shouldn't be there and yet does. And without him, you don't get time travel. You don't solve the biggest problem in the story, which is when trillions of people die.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Got any more gutters?
One, it's kind of tiny. Just the amount of pre-planning Hank had to do to get Scott in the suit.
I know. It feels kind of crazy.
Yeah, that's right. It almost feels like something like the leader could do, running probabilities on getting him in the suit.
Sure.
Or even some magic.
Sure, it's very under appreciated.
Yeah, that's right.
How much he would have had to plan to do that.
I love how he's like, one might say, I let you rob me. One might say, I let me rob you.
Yeah.
There's a lot there. But yeah, that was a tiny element that can get overlooked quickly because it just sort of moves. But if you when I was stopping to analyze these scenes, I was like, that took a lot.
Yeah.
To get him in there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of foresight to think about, like, oh, how do I get him to, like, want to rob this? Yeah.
And Hank alludes to that when he says, I've been watching you for a long time, ever since the heist.
Yeah.
And you go, oh, wow.
The heist is what got his attention.
Yeah, that's right. So, anyway.
It's interesting. All right, so The Road Not Taken. I only have one what if to explore, which is what if Edgar Wright had directed. So Edgar Wright, he is known for a few different things. The one that really sticks out to me is Baby Driver. Did you ever see that movie?
Oh, you know what's funny? My son just recommended that movie to me. I haven't seen it.
It's a great movie. So I think the biggest what if in MCU history for many fans would be this, because Wright's vision was a more stylized standalone heist film closer to Baby Driver in sensibility than a standard MCU entry. Less interconnected universe obligation, more pure Edgar Wright. Wright didn't want any other Marvel characters in the film.
Wow.
No Falcon cameo, no Avengers facility scene, no mid-credits Civil War setup. So his draft existed before Iron Man. It was written as its own thing. And so what we got is still good, but I would be interested to see it. What we might have gotten is a genuine auteur work inside the MCU, possibly the most distinctive film in the franchise. Like I said earlier, Simon Pegg called the Wright Cornish script the best Marvel ever had, and we'll never know.
Yeah. Yeah, my only what if in this space is what if we'd have gotten a serious Hank Pym story.
It's true, yeah.
That would have been, again, it would not have played the way this one played, and it would have been misplaced.
Right.
One, because Michael Douglas is old
right,
compared to the rest of the Avengers. So it had to have been a different actor, which every time we do that, I'm going to say could have been Timothée Chalamet. No, it couldn't. He was a child when this happened.
Right, yeah.
But, what actor could have played a more serious Hank Pym and actually been the genius who invents the Pym particle? That's the other thing. Is like, Scott has done none of that, even though he's
inheriting
engineer.
all of the genius.
Yeah, that's right. Even though he's intelligent, and he even talks. You get him a little bit where it's like, I tinkered with a regulator and blah blah blah, and that kind of. But he still, everything is standing on Hank's shoulders. And I would have loved to see a little bit more story there.
I know.
I don't know if there's a world where that happens.
We only see him in the suit once in the opening scene of the next Ant-Man movie when we find out how he actually lost Janet. So
right, yeah. Yep, that's right.
Crazy.
Cool.
All right, so let's talk. We'll run through the legacy here. Phase 2 ends not with a city-destroying battle, but with a heist involving a guy and his daughter's bedroom train set.
Yeah,
and it generally works. It's for the most part.
Yeah, it's funny that you said it like that because I almost felt like Phase 2 ended in the last movie, Age of Ultron.
It does feel that way, yes.
And then this was a bridge. This was a coda, which is fine. I felt like this was a kind of lucky to be here story. Ends up being a hinge for the whole meta narrative, the whole arc.
Yeah.
If we didn't have this movie, we have to solve Infinity War a different way.
Right.
Not that they couldn't have done it, but they would have had to. It introduces the quantum realm, which is, I mean. That, because of its scale, is near infinite in its size.
Yeah.
I mean, almost like later on we have the void, where there's a sense of this thing could be, anybody could be anywhere in the void. Just like anybody could be anywhere in the quantum realm.
Right.
Because you're at such small scale, the distance between one side of this table and the other side of this table is near infinite at quantum level. And so... So the ability to play in something that's so small, it's that large, is a space where this is no longer, or never was, for Spider-Man, a street level fight, friendly neighborhood thing. It's like, no, this is universe-ending conversations with a little bit of comic relief, which is kind of intense.
Right. And though this movie felt like a bridge, I feel like it also sets up. I think that in the long run, Scott Lang becomes one of the more beloved and enduring characters in the MCU. I mean, he appears in Civil War, he appears in Infinity War, Endgame, and then also is going to be in Doomsday. So it's going to be interesting to see how all of that kind of plays together. And of course, Edgar Wright went on to make Baby Driver, so he kind of got it out of his system.
Yeah, good.
And which feels like the movie he probably would have made if Marvel would have let him be himself. But I'm overall kind of glad we're past it.
Yeah.
Let's get on to the next one.
It feels this movie could be summed up for me in the La Cucaracha horn on the fucking van. That's how serious we were meant to take it.
All right, so next week we'll be talking about I almost said Avengers Civil War.
That's right,
Captain America Civil War, which is easy to mistake for an Avengers movie.
That's right. It feels like an Avengers movie because they're almost all there.
It does, yes.
And you're right. We may want to recap a little at the next episode, a little bit of what's happened in phases 1 and 2 to get us to this point.
Yeah.
Because if you just were to drop in, if you were just to watch the Captain America trilogy, Captain America 1, Winter Soldier, and then you could watch it and you'd understand about 70% of the second movie and about 40% of the third movie. But you really do need to know what's happening. This is the problem of the MCU, but also the gift of the MCU, is that you really do need to understand what's happened in the other movies to really capture Civil War.
Yeah, and I wouldn't even call it a Captain America trilogy because they're so disjointed from each other.
Yeah, that's right. It's almost like
they try to connect them.
Sure.
And of course, then we have a newer Captain America movie that's not connected to any of them, but then also kind of tries to be.
Yeah.
So I feel like it's an interesting arc overall, and then we kind of finish with this idea of Civil War and throwing it in there.
Yeah.
And the Russos are back, which is always great. And for all of its flaws in this movie, still ends up being one of my favorites.
Yeah. I mean, I did really like Civil War in the rewatch. I was going to say that we talked about this before, how the supporting actors end up being the throughput And so it's like what actually drags you through the story is the supporting actors, not necessarily the headliners.
Yeah.
And it's Bucky.
Yes.
Bucky gets you from episode 1 to the Winter Soldier to Civil War, obviously. Then he gets you into Falcon and the Winter Soldier, and then
it is the reason I love it.
And then
I love Anthony Mackie. Don't get me wrong. I watch anything that they're in. I watch it for Bucky.
And he gets you all the way into the Thunderbolts.
Thunderbolts.
The other Captain America.
Yes.
Right? The U.S. agent.
Right.
You get all of that in play through Bucky, not through Steve Rogers.
Right. It's true. Yeah, Bucky is actually the
That's
real
right. Just
thread
like
that holds
Loki.
it all together.
Yeah, right. Just like Loki is actually the hero of Thor, Bucky is actually the hero of Captain America.
Yeah, and we'll get into all of that next week. So join us next week, same time, same place.
That's right. Can't wait to do this again.
Yeah. That's right. All right, we'll see you guys next week.
Goodbye.